thank you so much for coming today and taking time on a Saturday to come out on a chilly day for our 5th annual observance of Workers' Memorial Day. And I suppose at this point I should introduce our guests. Do you see them up above my head? There they are. Joe Hill came today, and so did Mother Joan, and Lucy Carson. Now, our own Joe Hill, you know who that is, don't you? Dean Einerson is not with us. And he said to send you his best, and then his second command is, please don't mourn for me, but organize. So that's his message to you. And right now, I'll introduce Paul Knut, who's our 5th year of being an MC. All right, go ahead, Paul.
Thank you, Brandy. Yeah, it's getting to the point that I'd be really upset if she didn't ask me to MC. One of my favorite events all year, and I happen to be in 6 different organizations. But it's not about me. It's about Workers' Memorial Day. And of course, in northern Wisconsin, if you read Facebook, you'll know, summer came. It was last Wednesday. So that's it. We're not already. We're but Workers' Memorial Day is observed every year on April 28th. Today we honor those workers who have died on the job, to acknowledge the grievous suffering experienced by families and communities, and to recommit ourselves to the fight for a safe and healthful workplace for all workers. It is also the day that OSHA was established in 1971. Under the Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1970, employers are responsible for providing safe and healthful workplaces for their workers. OSHA's role is to ensure these conditions for America's working men and women by setting and enforcing standards and providing training, education, and assistance. That's right from the OSHA website. Each year, 4,000 workers lose their lives. That's 11 each day. Many of the details are preventable, deaths are preventable. Least anyone forgets we are here today to remember and to fight like hell for the living, like Mother Joan said. AFL-CIO Workers' Memorial Day has more verbiage, but this does not need to be lengthy. We'll leave that for our future speaker. Jackie, we're ready.
Oh. And his lovely wife, Sarah, on accordion. And I think you're going to enjoy every minute of it. We did last year. And the first song is not one to sing along so much, but it's Robert's favorite, so it's being played today. Called There Is Power in a Union. And if you flip over on your page, you'll see that it's on the back side. It was written in 1913 by Joe Hill. And of course, you know, he was part of the Milwaukee movement, the industrial workers of the world. And he concentrated much of his labor trying to organize migrant workers, and that sounds like a familiar theme, and organizing them in the lumber industry and the construction industry. And of course, in doing their organizing, they had competition from certain religious organizations. So the Wobblies decided since they could gather a crowd, he could gather a crowd too. He simply took the hymn, There Is Power in the Blood, and he adjusted the words, and so the second song on the back that you're looking at right now was written. Now if you'll take a focus in on verse 3, you'll see that there is an unusual word in that verse called a blackleg. And I think just by the term blackleg, you understand what it is. And the origin, of course, came from the rook bird. Some of you might play Rook, the card game. And the rook is a black bird with black legs. And what are they known for? Well, they're known for robbing other birds' nests, possibly killing their chicks, and they are very clever scavengers. So these words today, when someone says, oh, you've been rooked, well, now you understand you've been cheated. Now, rook is the word that they'll use in the UK. What's the word they use in the US for someone who's a worker who's cheated? Scab, exactly. That's how we know it. But, now, this is a Billy Bragg song, and as I said, it's one of Robert's favorite songs. So, you get to read along, and he gets to play it and do his thing.
Yeah, some of you might know this song. You might have heard it before, and if you want to sing along, fine. It's a little, yeah, you may have heard it before, but if you feel like singing along, good.
deposit we must pay. From the cities and the farmlands to the trenches full of love. War, and always the boss's wasters. The union forever defending our rights. Down with the flag, our workers unite. With our brothers and our sisters from many foreign lands. There is power in the union. Realize brutality and unjust laws cannot defeat us. But who them workers who cannot organize when the bosses send their lackeys out to cheat us? Money speaks money, the devil orders all. Who makes the speak for the skin and the bone? The comfort to the widow, the light to the child. There is power in a union. Money speaks for money, the devil orders all. Who speaks to speak for the skin and the bone? For the comfort to the widow, the light of the child. There is power in a union. For the union forever defending our rights. Down with the black flag, our workers unite. Our brothers and our sisters, together we stand. There's power in the union.
Loving memory of her sister Lillian. I left home that day as someone's child, mother, father, sister, brother, friend, and loved one, when my work was never done. I innocently went to work that day as a laborer, carpenter, office worker, co-worker, and a victim, when my work was never done. And now you mourn for me as family, friend, survivors, fighters, when my work was never done. I ask that on this day, remember, although my work was never done, our work has just begun.
I got a 10-year-old daughter over there, and I talk with people, looking up some of this stuff, you get a little bit of a better sense of the history, and I think sometimes people tend to lose that or miss that. Mm-hmm. And and not that long ago, I mean 100 years ago, 80 years ago, Sophia over there, she's 10, she might have been working 16 hours, in a textile mill in New York, or she might be, in Massachusetts, really common stuff. And I'm shocked that within like a generation or two, people forget, and I think last year, there a lot of turmoil over the last few years in this state with respect to that, and people forget what things were like, and my hands are a little cold. And it's like, it's like, if that's as bad as it gets, can you, 10, 12-year-old, children working in the textile mills and all that, and it just, I guess I'm always a little bit shocked or taken aback, by how rapidly people forget history that not too long ago. And I don't know that I would have the same, watching some of these films of different riots, or the Haymarket riots and some other stuff, and I don't know that I would have that kind of, there are people out there giving their lives. Things are so bad that you're willing to you're willing to jeopardize your life. You can only imagine how bad it is when you're ready to do that, right? 'Cause normally we're creatures of habit. It's like we'll get by, but so in any case, it just is that it's kind of interesting. Jackie mentioned this again, and I started thinking about it again, and I just always reflect on that idea of people forgetting history.
Yeah.
And so rapid.
Very good.
There once was a union maid, she never was afraid of goons and gangs and company things and things. She made the things she was running to the union hall when it was cold, and when boys wouldn't come around, always stood aside. But it can't scare me, I'm sticking with the union. I'm sticking with the union. I'm sticking with the union. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking with the union. I'm sticking with the union till the day I die. The union maid was wise, the tricks of the company spies. She couldn't be fooled by a pigeon tool. She'd always organized guys. Always got her way. When someone was buried, she showed up the National Guard. This is what she said. They stare at me, I'm sticking with the union. I'm sticking with the union. I'm sticking with the union. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking with the union. I'm sticking with the union till the day I die. I'm sticking with the union. I'm sticking with the union. I'm sticking with the union. Oh, you can't scare me. I'm sticking with the union. I'm sticking with the union till the day I die.
In talking with Kelly, that when OSHA was passed, her father was a contractor, so how do you think that worked out, I said, well, how many aluminum ladders did you have to buy, and so her and her brother lived it all their lives, and Kelly decided she was going to do something about it, and she has. And she's from the Green Bay area, and her and I got a lot more in common than you think, because I've got a daughter her age, so I know, and it's not a generational thing. So she's really doing a good job, and she's part of the solution. So right now, I'd like to introduce Kelly. Let's hear it for Kelly.
Well, thank you for having me. When you look back in 2015, we lost over 4,000 employees to work-related deaths. We're up almost 200 fatalities from the year before. Within OSHA, we've always tried to go down with fatalities, and we look at trends, and you always want to trend down, right? Why are we trending up? And nobody's been able to give the answer to that. And when you look at the state of Wisconsin, we've trended up for the last 3 years, y'all. We live in a state that we're not reducing the number of fatalities, they're increasing. And I kind of wanted to give you a little bit on it, and I know somebody's going to do a reading after, so I won't go there and steal the thunder. But within OSHA, there's 10 regions. The region that you're in is called Region 5. It's Michigan, which is a state plan state. Indiana is a state plan state. Minnesota is a state plan state. They're all part of Region 5. But the states that are federal are Wisconsin, Illinois, and Ohio. In those federal states, last year we lost 132 employees. 132. In the state of Wisconsin, OSHA investigated 28 fatalities. We do not investigate the deaths of county workers. We don't have coverage over that. We only have coverage over target sector. But when you look at those 28 fatalities and you start to think where they're at and what's happening with them, those fatalities, the majority of them were crushing and struck by. And I can't tell you enough. Fond du Lac last year, the 21-year-old that was killed on the scaffolding, the window scaffolding when the material failed, poor maintenance. You have to maintain the equipment that you're putting the employees on. That's your obligation as a company owner. If you're going to hire employees, you have to keep them safe. As things go, it's probably the worst things I've ever done is when I was out in the field for enforcement. The fatalities are horrible. Where I'm at now is outreach. I can make a difference. But what's happening is the government doesn't want outreach. The government wants you to have enforcement. So rather than telling you how to keep people safe, I should be out enforcing. So what I came today to talk about is what you guys can do to help us. In the north, when I was in the field, it always used to be if you came up this way, you always made sure that you had a really good stop. So you had a site where you had multiple employees that were exposed to a serious hazard, and then you would stop and do a self-referral. That's how OSHA does their inspections. We can't just stop at any job site. There has to be a serious imminent danger. So when we do that, if you would stop and it was something minor, by minor I still mean a hazard, but something that's not 20 feet down in the ground in silty soil, but if you're 10 foot up on a ladder with no fall protection on the roof and the roof is 10, 12 pitch, that's still a serious hazard. You stop for that, every person on that job site has now called their brothers, their sons, their cousins, and everybody from that point in Antigo all the way up through Eagle River and beyond know that OSHA is up north. Well, when OSHA comes up north, we're here for a week because you're 4 hours basically from where most of us live. So OSHA doesn't get up north very long. And one of the biggest comments you get are, OSHA doesn't come up north. We do come up north. Unfortunately, it's usually just for fatalities. So what we ask is that when you as the public see a hazard, if you can recognize it as a hazard, please call the OSHA office. We need that. Our fall protection standard, we're having our safety stand down next week. It's May 2nd to the 6th. It's OSHA's way of reaching out to all contractors, and we've opened it up to industry. We're going to job sites, talking to individual employees, discussing fall protection with them, talking about their self-retractable lanyards, how often they check them. They can bring their harnesses up and we'll walk through their harness inspection with them, make sure they thoroughly understand what they need to look for. Because if you're not wearing the safety equipment appropriately, it's like you weren't wearing it at all. I'll tell you a story that just happened this past year. We had an employee down in Sheboygan was going to do a roofing inspection. They had been called to a church. The church was 22 feet eave to ground and a 12-12 steeple pitch for the roof. You know, churches, that seems to be their standard model there. Well, when he got there, before he even got into the parking lot, he took some pictures because there's 10 people on the roof. Not one single person has any fall protection. There's nothing up on that roof whatsoever. Now, do you remember me talking about the pitch of that roof? So they had chicken ladders. They laid ladders so that they could get up. No, nothing to keep them from falling down. Got some photos of everybody. Turns out one of the photos happens to be the job site supervisor. And he's standing outside of the aerial lift, but the aerial lift is on the roof. So obviously you use the aerial lift like a ladder, or like a little elevator, get him up to the roof. And then he was outside talking to the guys. Well, we have him when he's coming out of the aerial lift, is the photos that we have. So the compliance officer, you know, we show our ID, we say, hey, can you come down a minute? We need to talk about your safety issues. And the guy comes down and he's not real appreciative that OSHA has stopped at his job site because, let me tell you, the guy had a trailer with bicycle hooks with all the harnesses and self-retractable lanyards on them. They had the harnesses for every single employee. How do you do that? The company buys the safety equipment, But if you don't have your foreman, if you don't hold your people accountable, that's where your fatalities are going to come. They're going to see their foreman not wearing fall protection. Well, why should I take the time to put fall protection on? Why should we look for an anchor point? They have to do that. They have to get this culture going where we're wearing fall protection. It's a simple step. There's guardrail systems out there now that they can use. But now let me get to the point of this that really goes home. The compliance officer is getting ready to leave the site. But OSHA, we're piloting a new program from our office. And what it is so that we can enter citations while the compliance officers are still at that job site. So the compliance officer goes into his vehicle, the windows are down, and he's going ahead and getting this paperwork done so that he can bring that back out. Everybody's down, everybody now has harnesses on, compliance officer goes to do the paperwork, everybody goes back up on the roof, including the foreman. Not 5 minutes after they went up, you hear, that was the fall arrest system. It had just saved the foreman. He ended up at the 22-foot edge, but he did not go over. If OSHA had not stopped at that job site, how many other people would have passed away? It's ridiculous. 45 years, guys. 1970 is a long time ago, and you know, I expected in the 70s. I don't expect it in 2015. We know better. Harnesses have come so far. They're so light. They're easy to use. The retractables, heck, I come from the Navy. I spent 15 years in the Navy as a Seabee. When we'd wear fall protection, it was those old harnesses that were awful hard, and retractables must have weighed 30 pounds that you'd wear on your back to try and do work. But, you know, the Navy, we've got to do that. So we get out. These harnesses are super light now. They have them where they'll take the weight on your hips. They have padded shoulder pads. This gentleman actually said nothing to his employees, came down from the roof. Compliance officer was polite with him, and, you know, they discussed what had happened, but he wouldn't say anything in front of his crew. So he never said thank you, he never said, hey, you saved my life. Said nothing, no acknowledgement whatsoever, so you don't know what's said after the compliance officer leaves. But that evening at 5 o'clock, when most people think that OSHA's done, our days go till 7. So we go out all day and then we write reports in the evening before we go home. Well, that evening they got a phone call. It was from that foreman, and he said, thank you for saving my life. I understand. So it took you to fall and have a serious fall, not a little 2-foot fall, but a serious fall and be stopped, because when that harness, when that self-retractable, it jolts your whole body up, it's really, really tight, and then you have to be rescued, and it's those other guys that are attached to the other anchor points that are going to help you self-rescue. He understands what fall protection's about. Should we have to go that far for fall protection? So let's talk about our area in Appleton. Last year in 2015, we had 6 fatalities. Milwaukee had 9, Madison had 9, Eau Claire had 4. When we look at the fatalities that happened in Appleton in 2015, we have the 21-year-old that was killed from the scaffold that had collapsed. It was a I can't think of the name of it right now because I'm like all jittery, but it's one that attaches on the roof and hangs over. So it's not Bozeman's chair, but it's the scaffold. When he's on that, the rigging gives. The maintenance on the reels was never done to make sure that it would engage. So that's how he came off of that scaffold. Now the very last fatality that Appleton had that year was a company owner in Kaukauna, Wisconsin, which is in my backyard. I live in Reedsville. He died in a trench. He was making the connection. He was a master plumber. He was there by himself. His son had gone home, and the trench gave in. The son came back because the father didn't come home for supper, and that's where he found his father. These are horrible. This is our attitude to safety, and we really have to work with everybody. We have to talk to our kids, talk to the grandkids, talk to the people next to you. Safety is not a joke. It's a way of life. And the sooner everybody realizes it's a way of life, it's not bad, it's not negative. It was brought about to save lives, and it has. We went from what, almost 52 fatalities a day, and we're down to 13. I heard 11, but what I have for numbers is 13 for 2015. So right now in 2015, we still kill 13 employees every day.
What about crippling injuries?
Those are by the, we just started with an RRI. That's a new record-keeping standard that we have out. It started on January 1st, 2015. As of January 1st, every amputation, every hospitalization, every loss of eye has to be called into the local OSHA office within 24 hours. Prior to this, you could lose your arm at work and OSHA would never know. You could be scalped at work and OSHA would never know. They were only required to call and notify OSHA if they killed somebody or if they put 3 people in the hospital. You could put 2 people in the hospital and you'd never have to tell OSHA a word. That went on for 44 years, y'all. They finally realized that we need to know. You know how they did that? Well, Congress started looking at numbers and they got with workers' comp from the different states. They looked at what the workers' comp rates are, and then they looked at the OSHA recordables. You know, we take those. That's how that BLS number comes about. We were 30% less than the worker comp rates for amputations. So that says 30% of all amputations were never even reported to OSHA. Now, we average probably 7 calls a week in Appleton. And that's a 5-day week. We average 7 to 10 calls a week. Those are amputations and hospitalizations. They do have to call with heart attacks, those we don't go out on. But actual amputations, scalping, losses, any hospitalization, they have to notify the office. They still have to notify a fatality within 8 hours, but within 24 hours of a hospitalization, they need to call the OSHA office. One of the ways that we're enforcing on that, and it's always been word of mouth how you hear things happen. Heck, the best cases that you have are from the newspapers. They'll publish the pictures of the people in the trenches with no trenching, no trench box, no shoring, no hydraulics, nothing. And that'll come from the newspaper, and the guy's just looking up, and we have a certain thing from a couple of years ago when we had somebody in a trench. But anyway, to move on from that, we need you guys to help refer us. How many people do you think OSHA employs?
Not many.
Not many at all, and they're not hiring anymore. They're at a freeze. So right now we have a little over 800 enforcement officers working for OSHA.
For the whole country?
For the entire nation.
Oh my gosh.
We have just shy of 1,800 employees working for OSHA. So it says that we have a lot of managers and supervisors, and we have compliance assistants, which is what I am. I no longer carry credentials. I can no longer write citations. I train people. We go out to different corporations. We hold safety stand-downs. We try to get employees involved in safety. My position last year was cut to 18 employees. As of last week, we have 6. You have 6 of me throughout Region 5, where we once had 18. That's ridiculous. Where did those other people go? They didn't retire. They put them back in the field as senior compliance officers for enforcement. We need enforcement. It serves a purpose, but we need outreach. I reach more people through training and knowledge base than you'll ever get doing an inspection. An inspection, you're saving a life. That's when we stop. We never get there when it's just ho-hum, nothing going on. We get there when it's immediate danger or a very serious violation. That's when we're there. We can respond if we have a call and it's something that we have an emphasis program on. We will come up to Rhinelander. We will come up to Tomahawk. Falls, trenches, let us know. One phone call. I'll leave some cards. You don't have to talk to me. You can just call into the office and be anonymous. We don't follow up. If it's an emphasis program, we go out because that's something that we've had so many people killed in that OSHA's put it out as an emphasis program. So please, if you see a fall, yes.
You notify the employer before you come out?
Not at all. No. That'd kind of be wouldn't work for the cause of what we need to do. I mean, if we have non-formals and we can take care of it and we can do it as a phone fax and the company can send us their documentation that they've evaded the hazard, that's fine. But when it's a fall or a trench, that's a life-endangering hazard. That's something that needs to be corrected right away. And that's what we'll do. We have people in the field all week, and we'll send them, who's ever closest to wherever that call's coming in from. That person will be dispatched, and they'll now take from where they're at and go over to where they need to be, so that we're not so far away from everything. But again, up north, you don't get a lot of the compliance staff, because where's our industry? Our industry's in the Fox cities, Milwaukee, Manitowoc. Manitowoc's lost so much industry. But they're where those calls are at. You guys are seeing the ones that we can make a difference in. We need to get with more small contractors. We need to get up and put that training out. Our training is free. We will come up and train. May 2nd to May 6th, it's any company's opportunity to call the office and say, hey, can you send somebody out to do some fall protection training for us? We want to stand down with you. We want to participate. We want to help OSHA. We want to work together to abate all fall hazards. The more employees realize how badly they can be hurt and how simple it is to avoid that, the better we'll be. But as long as the employees don't think there's any harm in it, or it's only 9 foot, I'm not going to get hurt at 9 foot. It's only a 412 pitch, I'm not going to get hurt at a 412 pitch. Really? We've got the fatalities to show. The biggest ones that we have, and the big uptake that OSHA had, we just started with a ladder emphasis program 2 years ago, because they did a 10-year study on falls. Out of that study, 38% of all fatal falls were from step ladders. Really, everyone? I'll play devil's advocate. People standing on picnic tables to try and do something. And the picnic table will diving board, and you will go down and go up. There's things that you have to think about. People don't think of that. And it happens all the time. I have a husband who's a carpenter. I've got a kid who's an IBEW electrician. And my family's all in the trade. That's all they do. And your son comes home with needle-nose pliers that are welded together at the tip. I wanted to throw up. He hit a hot wire. He says, Mom, I checked everything to make sure it was all locked out. I had it all. It wasn't, nothing was hot. Everything was good. It was old ghost wiring that had never been pulled. He had locked out all of the newer stuff that was what he was supposed to be working on. But they had put this, the facility was first put up, it's Packer Lab Packing. So it's an old facility. So whenever that thing was up, they never pulled all the wires. Those wires were still hot. I could have lost him in a blink of an eye, and he's thoughtful of safety. He's been brought up with it. I go by, last night we were going out for supper, and we come by a hay wagon that's got scaffolding made out of 2x10s. And I'm like, really? 2015, so it's got the hay wagon, it's got the 2x10, and it's got 2x10s going across. Granted, I'm sure it's a homeowner. I'm pretty sure it was a homeowner. There was nobody up on it. But it was horrible. It was something that you would see in a third world country. Why are we backstepping in the U.S.? I don't understand that. Safety is so super important, and I understand the dollar, and this is Kelly, this is the OSHA, but this is me talking. Every day. How can you do that? That's somebody that's not going home. That's an impact. Even if it's an injury. If you lose a hand or lose fingers, you're not doing what you've been able to do forever, and that's what we're trying to prevent. So now within OSHA, the latest standard that we've passed has been the silica standard. It is now being enforced, and with that silica standard, the foundries in the state of Wisconsin are super duper upset. They'll figure out a way to come into compliance with it. They always do. Everybody figures out a way to come into compliance. But when a new standard comes out, there's always something that we just can't do, and it's impossible, and OSHA wants us to do this. That's not what it is. OSHA's rules and regulations are the bare minimum. That's the bare minimum you can do to keep yourself safe. So when we finally come out with standards and things get through, it's because we've had fatalities at those rates that we're going. So if we're saying your PELs have to be here, that's where the permissible exposure limit needs to be, not higher. We're working on walking working surfaces. I don't think Congress will get back into pass anything prior to this administration leaving. And it's very sad, because we have worked on walking working surfaces for almost 8 years now. And it keeps getting hung up. And it's super, we're asking for a competent person to be able to check the facility, to check the construction site, to make sure that those walking working surfaces are intact and that they're secure, that we know that they've been looked at, to verify. That's what it is. It's going along with what ANSI's already said, but that hasn't been passed. That's not been approved. Absolutely.
If a person's a contractor and they hire a single person that's self-employed, are they responsible for the safety of that person that they hire?
Because they hired them under multi-employer. We're different than the IRS. The IRS says you can be self-employed and self-employed. In OSHA, if the person who signs the contract with whoever, so you have one person that signs a contract and agrees to do the work. He hires 3 other people to help him with the roof because it's too big of a roof for one person to do alone. Those 3 people could be self-employed for the IRS sake and for their 99, but under OSHA, they worked for this person here because he got the job. They're doing the work. It has taken us, when I first got on with OSHA, that was not the way it went, but within the last 15 years, they finally figured that out. We've got enough storms come through that OSHA's been able to adjust that, and under multi-employer, they're able to deal with that.
If a person doesn't have a contract with that individual employee, are they still responsible if they come to your work site?
If it's just one person self-employed, we don't have any coverage. We may still stop because we won't know that until we stop. But once they say that we're self-employed and we're able to verify their documents, then we stop the inspection. So we have no coverage over public employees or self-employed. Ours are just the private. We've had a lot of stuff that you've heard on agriculture. Wisconsin was the first state to have an agricultural emphasis program, because back in 1970 when OSHA came to be, there was also an exemption put in there. That exemption was for agriculture. It was for the small family farm. Unfortunately, in Wisconsin, we don't have very many of those small family farms any longer. Those have all been sold out and the land has been split and so on and so forth. But see, what happened is, we have a lot of corporations that purchase the farmland. They purchase the herds of cattle. They're now doing these big milking operations. They're covered by OSHA. Don't say you're not. Yes, you're doing something agricultural. You have more than 10 employees outside of your family unit. You're covered by OSHA. Look at what our fatalities were last year. 7 were agriculture related. We have a grain standard for engulfment, but yet we still let people go into the silos. We still have people chase around. And I don't get some of it, and I understand it's a culture thing, and the kids used to play in the mound, and that. It's not that way anymore, people. We have to start thinking, because we know what can happen. If you didn't know that the fatality could happen, okay, but you've had so much proof that there's engulfment hazards, that there's confined space. What about gases? Superior, we had the 3 brothers that were killed, and the 4th one is the only one that wasn't killed. He called 911. Really? You know, they opened up the tank and they were overcome by the gas, and he went down to help our brother, and he was overcome. Well, if you have 2 brothers at the bottom of a well, do you go down? This 3rd brother did. At least the 4th person realized he should call 911 because something has got his 3 brothers down, that they're not able to be conscious. We have to think responders are killed almost as frequently. When we talk confined spaces and rescue, the rescuers are often the people that are killed because they don't have the gas meters. They don't know what the hazard was. If somebody's passed out at the bottom of something, there's a reason for it. Don't call 911 as soon as you can. And then stand by so you can direct the people that have the equipment to get them out, get them over there as quick as you can. All right, there's my little preaching done, sorry. But no, anything that you guys can do, couldn't say it better myself. You know, we have people that have passed away and we have workers that have gone. We have to fight for those workers that are out there every single day. And that's how we do it, by the public helping. Yes?
And the families that are affected by these deaths are never the same.
never ever the same, no.
It destroys families.
Absolutely. The very first fatality I ever did was a kid from Reedsville. He was 21 years old and his father owned an excavation company. And I didn't know this at the time I was being sent out there. He had put his dump truck into the high power lines because he was going to go. His dad had him spreading gravel at this fancy house they were putting in a pond. And he was all done for the day. And one of the guys that was doing blacktop asked him if he would you mind spreading blacktop for me? So he was under the truck, the door of the truck. He had a bed raised. He had it because he was changing the baffles out so that he could go. So because blacktop has to come through like this, so he was changing the baffles, raising the baffles. Well, while he was doing that, this made contact with the power line, the eye on the dump, and that gate hit him in the back. He turned 21 2 days before that. That truck was brand new. I had not seen the family. They actually lived outside of the town that we're from. But we went up to Cribbets about 2, maybe 3 years ago, and a gentleman comes up to me and says, "You don't remember me, do you?" And I said, "I'm sorry, I don't. I can't place you." He says, "You did my son's death." And I was like, "What?" And he thanked me for how it went. He says, "You took time with my wife, you took time with me." The compliance officers, we don't want to see anybody killed. We really don't. And when it happens, we want to find out why. And if we can't find out why, we keep going. Because there's something. It could be malfunction of equipment. It could be lack of knowledge. It could be lack of awareness of what's around you. There's all kinds of things that it can be. But that person that comes out to you, that person that is doing that investigation for your loved one, they're doing everything they can to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Sure.
Do you have a percentage of these companies that are non-union and union who has a better track record with the OSHA? Are union shops better at compliance than non-union shops? Be honest.
Nobody's taping, right?
Well, Paul, one of the things I talked to Fred about is North Central Labor Coalition and the Workers Center. Hopefully next year there will be a stand down in the Rhinelander area, because the closest one that's going to happen next week is in Tomahawk. And it needs to be in this area and here. And not only just in industry, but can it also be in the resort industry?
Everything.
Everything? Okay. Because I would like to see some in this area, because our whole point is to organize and protect workers.
I did the fatality at Eagle's Nest when they were building the Eagle's Nest resort.
Okay.
That fatality was one that I did when I was still in that field. I mean, it's just the way, it's the career that you go into, and I guess.
Is there anyone who has a final question before we?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Kelly says she'll answer any questions you have after we're at lunch, okay?
Okay, all right. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Kelly. And what a good thing an employee of OSHA is trying to do. I mean, Kelly is just part of the solution. And speaking of part of the solution, this young lady that I'm introducing now is definitely part of the solution. She's a member of the United County IT Department, an employee. She's a member of AFSCME, an activist that actually served on the executive committee for the state in their transitional period. And she serves on her town board, and she is a member of the Lincoln County Board, and she's also, her union AFSCME is a founding member of the North Central Labor Coalition. So she's busy. She's very busy, and she's not just a rising star, she is a star. Right now, I'd like to introduce Julie Allen. That's it.
Hello, my name is Julie Allen. Welcome to our 5th annual Workers' Memorial Day observation. Let us respect those who lost their lives in their line of duty. Here is the roll call. This is a list of the workers in 2015. This list was acquired by the Wisconsin Committee on Occupational Safety and Health. January. January 1st, Carl Durst. January 3rd, Craig Cotter. January 12th, Saeed Sharwani. January 28th, Neil Hynek. February, Juan Gonzalez. February 2nd, Paul Liebergen. February 20th, John Stoll. February 26th, Augustin Vega. February 28th, Ryan Culkin. March. March 3rd, Dennis Lanphier. March 4th, Kenneth LaChance. March 24th, Trevor Casper. April. April 9th, William Yan. April 10th, Dustin Keith. April 11th, Joshua Reimer. April 27th, Daniel Richards. April 29th, Thomas Vandecreek. May. May 4th, Derek Burkhalter. May 7th, Andre Marin. May 8th, Michael Brock. May 11th, Roger Wall. May 14th, Thomas Ramirez. May 14th, Robert Flip. May 5th, Clifford Travis. May 28th, Kristen Hayes. June, Michael Clark and Anthony Pratt. July, July 6th, Natalia Sherd. July 14th, Marcus Whitehaven. July 20th, Christopher Huson. July 21st, Brian Delabro. July 28th, Cynthia Avalese. August. August 1st, Keith Reed. August 7th, Douglas Harriman. August 7th, Philip Weldon. August 7th, Gary Sauer. August 11th, Michael Seibeldon. August 14th, Reyes Hernandez. August 17th, Chris Lord. August 19th, John Thomas. August 19th, Charles Bates. August 27th, Gilberto Ora. September. September 8th, Scott Hatfield. September 9th, Tyler Peterson. September 21st, Kelsey Hagenson. September 28th, John McFarlane. September 28th, Nia Yang. October. October 10th, John Hammerfall. October 27th, Michael Quinlan. November. November 23rd, Ryan Copeland. December. December 11th, Lawrence Millard. So in this list there were 56 known deaths in Wisconsin workplaces, many of which involved the vehicular incident. Now we have a list they're the names of workers contributed by past participants in the Workers' Memorial Day. 1985, January 1st, Irvin Shout, AFSCME Local 332 Lincoln County Highway Department, run over by a road grader while working on a highway project. 1986, Don Eichreiner, Wisconsin DNR, died fighting a wildfire. 1988, January 21st, Deputy Mary Moore, Vilas County Sheriff's Department, auto accident. Jeff Clapper, age 23, died while working for Lakeland Mechanical Contractors. 2000, May 31st, Monty Witt, AFSCME Local 1057, Forest County Highway Department. The vehicle he was operating came in contact with live overhead wires. July 15th, Sergeant Todd Stamper, Crandon Police Department, gunfire. 2007, July 19th, Tyler Carl, died as a result of an industrial accident in Nome, Alaska. 2008, July 29th, the Tomahawk Mill explosion. The International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, Local Lodge 1713. The 3 men were fatally injured when a high-density recycling fiber storage tank exploded while they were doing maintenance work. Steve Bormans, age 52, Tomahawk. Randy Kohler, age 55, Tomahawk. Superintendent Donald Snyder, age 46, Merrill. 2010, April 25th, Deputy Corey Elwin Dalvig, age 29, Vilas County Sheriff's Department, vehicular assault. Thomas Clark, Rhinelander Paper Mill, mesothelioma. 2012, July 19th, 2 workers were burned from fly ash while working at the Packaging Corporation. Gogian, age 49, and Dustin Hale, age 29. November of 2012, there were 112 garment workers that lost their lives at the Tazrin Fashion Factory fire in Bangladesh. 2013, on April 24th, 1,100 garment workers were crushed in the Rana Plaza factory collapse in Bangladesh. April 15th, 2013, this is a roll call of 11 of the 14 firefighters and workers that were killed in West Texas during an explosion at a fertilizer plant. Morris Bridges, age 41, Harry Calvin, age 37, Jerry Chapman, age 26, Cody Drago, age 50, Kenny Harris, age 52, Jimmy Mattis, age 52, Joey Hostajowski, Cyrus Reed, Robert Snockhouse, age 48, Doug Snockhouse, age 50, Buck Uptmore, age 40-something. April 19th, Gerald Buell, age 27, of Milton, grain silo death. 2014, January 3rd, 4 strikers were killed during the garment workers' strike in Cambodia. On March 5th, James Jim Waldhart died in a trucking accident working in North Dakota. On April 18th, Dorji Khatri, leader of the Nepal's trade unions of Sherpas, was killed in the Mount Everest avalanche. 2015, July 14th, Marcus Whitevin, age 50, Lincoln County Highway Department, was struck by an oncoming car and killed while flagging. Let us take a moment of solidarity silence to honor all the workers who earn their right to go to work and not return home.
Thank you.
I'm going to introduce Solidarity Forever. And Ralph Chaplin was a poet, he was an artist, he was a writer, and he was an organizer. The law was before.
Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. The workers shall run. There shall be no power greater than the very length of sun. Yet the force on earth is weaker than the feeble strength of one. For the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. Is there aught broken home? The parasite who would lash us into serfdom and would crush us with his might? Is there anything left to organize and fight? For the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. It is we who plowed the prairies, built the cities where they trade, dug the mines and built the workshop, endless miles of railroad laid. Now we stand outcast and sorry amid the wonders they have made. For the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. All the world has owned our houses, owns our towers and ours alone. We have laid the foundation, built the skies with stone by stone. Yet are not just slaves, but the master and to own. While the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. They have taken on so millions, yet they never call it home. Greater than the might of armies, magnify 1,000-fold. It brings the burden from the ashes of the old. For the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever.